Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Money Talk. It is absolutely my favorite topic, money. And what are we going to talk about today? How do you monetize your business? How do you monetize a summit? How do you monetize an event? And how can you make money at this on a cruise? Well, you're going to find out all about this today because my special guest today is Shantha Mony. So join me, we'll be right back. Because if you market something really, really well, you never have to sell. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me today on Money Talk. Today, I'm going to have a very special guest talk to you about how you can monetize your business or your next event on a cruise. And imagine that. Well, joining me today is Shantha Mony. Shantha, welcome.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for having me here.
My pleasure. Absolutely. My pleasure. Let me turn off my phone so it doesn't start ringing in the middle of all of this. So Shantha, you have your own company called Luxury Destination Concierge, correct?
That's correct.
And, when I think of luxury destinations, I think, oh my gosh, that must be so expensive. Luxury and destinations, and most people would put in their minds, well, I can't afford that. Let's demystify this myth real fast.
Right. When you talk about luxury, it's really, what do you want out of it? How do you want to spend your time? Where do you want to go? So it's not that, it's out of your budget or anything. We try to find the price point that you want, and we make it a luxurious experience. So it's all about the experience that we provide you and that you can get out of wherever you want to go. So that's the beauty of being able to customize and create it just to fit your needs.
So let's talk rules. Let's talk turkey. Let's talk money. And when I think about doing an event, I think about all the cost associated with it. I work with the mastermind group where somebody took 12 people onto an adventure on the water. But she had to, there were things that delayed and all the other things that were associated with that. And she had to find hotels and she had to find all kinds of things. How could she have avoided that whole mess if she had used you and your services?
Yeah, what we really talk to you about is you focus on what your niche is and what you want to deliver to your clients. There's so many things that happen behind the scenes that people are not really aware of, that if you leave it to an expert in that field, you can focus more of your time on your clients and deliver your program or your ideas that you want and make it really profitable because you've given away the piece that is not in your wheelhouse to somebody else who can handle it. And a lot of people don't realize there are so many things that you need to take into account even to make it a profitable one. So
well,
that's where we come in.
Let's talk about a cruise, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I can think of one good reason to have my event on a cruise, like a captive audience. My audience is there, right? Now,
Right.
That doesn't mean that I want them to be, in my space any more than I want to be in their space. But I can think of the mindset of somebody going on a cruise or taking, some of their family or letting them go enjoy something like that. And so when, if people are already making a reservation for a hotel to come to your event, why not have it on a cruise? Talk to me about this.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's a cruise is pretty much all inclusive. You can build it to however all inclusive you want it. If you want to include your excursions for your group, you can do that. But you have all your food included, your entertainment included. But the best part is you have a captive audience, like you mentioned. They're there to learn and to experience your expertise. So when they attend it, they're focused on that. It doesn't mean that they don't have time in the evenings. A lot of them do bring their families, because the families can do their own thing during the day while you're busy at the event. And then you can always get together for times in the evenings, time spend time with the family, or network. A lot of things happen outside of the event, so the networking opportunities is just tremendous. But that's where
I
you
can
have, they're locked into that space, nowhere to go, but they're really coming in for the event. They're not coming in for just a vacation on a cruise.
I think that means a lot too, because when I think about a cruise, I think about it being a fun place to go. It could be 2 day, it could be 3 day. And then, locked in also means locked in with my family or my guests that I've brought, right? So
Right.
giving them a diversion, giving them something that they can go do. But let's talk about monetizing this. If I
Mhm.
wanted to do something like this, how do I get my cabin paid for?
That's where we come in. We build it in such a way where you do have to have a minimum number of people to get your cabin paid for. But even if you don't, say you want to just have 10 people, but we can build it around. We add some of the extras the extra expertise that you provide. So really make it an event. And they are paying just not for the cabin and the things, but they're really paying for the expertise that you have. So everyone is really willing and open to paying your fee that you have to be in there. But on top of that, if you have X amount of people, you can get your cabin paid for. But it all depends on, that's where we come and help you to build it so that you can make it profitable. There are
So it would
sponsorships
seem
that
to
you can
me
get.
like creating that kind of an event, Shanta, might be with, affiliates, somebody that I would want to do the event like a summit, like, right? So a summit is usually with like-minded types of businesses and business owners, entrepreneurs that are not competing with me, or if
Mhm.
they are, it's cool, it's co-opetition, right? So,
That's right.
the idea is to try to fill as many spots as possible, so that the more people that go on to
Mhm.
these things in our events, there's multiple cross opportunities. So if somebody else came onto the event that
Mhm.
was going to be speaking and presenting something, I would want to have them set up as an affiliate first, because if one of my clients buys from their program, I'm getting paid again. So not only am I getting paid by my own clients to be there, but I can also cross sell to them. And setting up those affiliates are really important, right?
That's right. It all depends on how you want to work it. Do you want it to be a close knit mastermind group? Then you don't want to have other people come in. That's perfectly fine. We can still make that profitable. But like you mentioned, how about you have your event, but you bring in some speakers? Now that speaker is going to bring in their audience, and you can charge them, or you can tell them, in order to speak, you have to have X number of people. So that grows your attendees to the cruise, right? So
Right.
that's a great way to do it. So the more people you have, the more options you have to get some free space that you can use it for yourself. You can use, if you have enough, you can use it for the speaker. So there are ways, a number of ways. The other thing you can do is get sponsors too. You can have a breakout sponsor, you can have an evening cocktail hour sponsor. Get the
Oh,
sponsors
that's
to
a
come
great
in and
idea.
for you.
That's a fabulous idea, because, when we think about any of the masterminds or the events that we've attended, we
Mhm.
ourselves are sponsors to these things. So bringing in and putting them on a cruise sounds like a whole lot of fun. From a, have you, I don't know, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, Shanta, but have you ever done a, a cost comparison on hotels versus the nights on a cruise?
Yeah, I can tell you right off the bat some of the costs that you're going to be saving on a cruise ship. One, when you go to a hotel, you have to pay for the meeting space, right? And some of them can run
Right.
into the thousands that you have. When you're on a cruise ship, you don't have to pay for any meeting space. That's included in your event. So that's a huge saving. You don't have to worry about the food and beverage, because all is on the cruise ship, everything is included, right? You have your meals there. So you don't have to have any food and beverage minimums. The cruise ships don't even have allow don't even pay for you don't even pay for your AV setup. So they will set up all your AV for you. So even if you just
That
choose,
that is worth the price of admission right there. And do cruise ships typically have this kind of equipment, or do you need to bring your own onto the ship?
no, they have that equipment. There are ways that you can do it. If you want somebody to man it, they may have a minimal cost, but they will set it all up for you. If you can man it, that's fine. But a lot of them, some of the cruise lines even have that all included. So it really depends on which cruise line you choose, which is the best one for your group. Choosing the right destination is another thing. But when you're just talking about costs, just those three: the food and beverage, the space, and the AV equipment that you don't have to worry about, and lug things around if you're bringing your own. You don't need to do all that. Everything is provided for you.
It's interesting because we tend to not think, oh, well, a cruise would be actually affordable, but not only that, but profitable. Is there a
Mhm.
break even number for guests coming on, that one you're, and I know that this has to do with location, destination, and length of time that
Mhm.
you're going to be on the ship. But give me an example of how this would lay out and how this would be profitable for somebody to do their next event on.
Okay, just to give you an example, it all depends. It definitely depends on the itinerary you choose, the time of the year you go, what sort of cabins you're offering. But say the cruise, we've done a cruise recently. It was like, I think it was like $1,500 for a cabin with double occupancy, for a balcony cabin for 5 nights. Where can you find something like that on a resort where you have to all the other expenses that you have to include?
Right, an all-inclusive resort. Let's
All of,
and I can think of a few of them that, you've gone down to an exotic location. You had
Mhm.
to fly there. You had to pay for, the all-inclusive, and there are always limitations on those all-inclusives, right?
Right, right. And some of them don't include all your AV equipment on that. So, but you can definitely, make it profitable. And a great way to make it profitable year after year is really have people commit to your next event while they're there, right? They're having such a great time. Want to share it
Oh
with
my gosh,
everybody.
especially while they're in the right mindset. They're having a great time. They're having great food. Their family's happy, or whoever it is that they brought with them, and it's a win, 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 win. Winner,
It
winner,
is.
chicken dinner. Get them to book on the next one. And
Yeah.
so, if somebody, now that's a good point too, because now you're talking about really having this planned out, right? So, if this is your
Mhm.
first, cruise, how would you know where your profit was before you actually load uh, win aboard?
Yes, you would, because everything is set even before you get on board. You know everything, and
Mhm.
then the other beauty of it, as far as making it profitable, is you don't have that huge commitment that you have when you book on a hotel. You have to commit to it that you're going to get X number of people within a certain number of time, right amount of time, or if you don't, you're on in lieu for paying all of that, right? You're responsible for those payments if you don't fill your room block, and
Oh my
those are
God! And,
pretty.
and 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 I know there are listeners right now hearing this and
Yeah, no, I was going to say
feeling
those
that
are pretty much
pain of,
front.
having a block of hotels, and then having to send out and keep sending out and keep sending out and keep sending out the, oh, you book your hotel, don't forget to book your hotel, book your hotel, book your hotel, because you got this anxiety. Do we not have enough to think about in putting on an event without having to send out reminders to go book your hotel?
Yeah. So you don't have to put anything up front when you're doing a group event, but you do have a lot of time. It's actually 90 days before you're sailing, which gives you plenty of time. We always advise you to start planning an event at least 9 months before, so that your audience can be prepared. It's not that the event planner or the person hosting it needs that time, but they need time to be able to market it to their team. People need to have be availability on their calendar, so at least 9 months is a good time frame to start. But you really don't have to pay anything, or you're till about 90 days before sailing, so you're not putting huge amounts of money up front and wondering whether it's going to come out of your pocket or not.
So what kind of cost do you have to pay up front? Do you have to pay for the block of rooms that you're going to have for the event?
Pretty much, no, you don't. You don't have
Oh
to
my
pay
goodness,
anything upfront.
seriously?
So you can hold the space up to 90 days before, and then up to, at that 90-day frame, if you haven't sold any of the cabins, they will take it off your block. But that doesn't mean that we as a planner can't book your rooms, other rooms which are not in your cruise space. It just may not be the same price point.
Okay, and that makes sense, and that's a fair comment, because if you didn't book it, there literally is not the penalty of booking hotels on a block of hotels. You just have those allocated to you, and then they're released to the public, right?
Right,
Or back
right.
to the
Yeah,
ship.
yeah. It just kind of, it's you got to think
I
about the
can think
cruise
of
line. They
several.
can't hold you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. So now, what would you recommend, Shantha, on a booking for, let's say, a mastermind or an event like a summit? How many days typically would somebody book?
7 days is pretty good time to do it, but you also got to look at the number of sea days. Okay, so if you have a 7-day itinerary and you have only one sea day, that's not really a good itinerary for you to hold an event, because the days you're at port, nobody wants to stay in the ship for your event when the rest of the family is going out and exploring the port.
No,
So
because nobody's going to attend your event. They're going to be
yeah,
out. They're going to be,
yeah.
at shore of another destination. What would you
So
say the shortest amount of time would be? I mean, do you ever see 3 and 4 day bookings?
we do see 3 days, but we really don't recommend it, because before you can get to know the people and you have your event, they're off the ship, right? So the 3 days are really not recommendable at all. At least a 5-day, and even a 5-day, we look for itineraries that have at least 2 sea days, because you want to have at least 2 days to provide your expertise and your event. So those are the good ones. But if we have a lot of them which go on 7 days, because people can't afford to take off 7 days. But there are some times when people say 5 days is good enough for us, and we've done a lot of those as well.
So on a 5 day, typically, where would somebody book to? Let's just say you and I are in California, but maybe our
Yeah.
audience is, Texas and North
Mhm.
Carolina and Florida. Where would so you work with the experts of wherever their audience is going to come from, or is it really based on destination recommendation?
It's really based on what the group leader, or you would want to do, right? If majority of your audience is in the West Coast, you can have that. But we've had events where people have been scattered all over, but people fly, right? So the main ports that you would suggest for most of the time for a 5-night would be either LA or anywhere in Florida. There are a couple of different ports in Florida. And then Galveston has become a big hub right now as well for 5 nights. And they only go to the
Really?
Caribbean. Yeah, so Galveston is about an hour from Houston, so you can fly into Houston, and we have a couple of cruise ships that go from there. They all go to the Western Caribbean, and we've done mastermind cruises out of there where they have a 5-night with 2 days at sea, and that works perfect. So it really
Um,
depends on the group leader where they want to do.
Well, in order to get people to come on to your location, I don't think of, Galveston is my destination location, and I want to create the path of least resistance. So I
Mhm,
want them to come into a major city, like, into an Orlando, Florida, or into
mhm.
a Los Angeles International, or, somewhere where, they don't have to travel. I don't know, LAX. If you land in LAX, you're probably a half hour, 40 minutes away from San Pedro, where all of the cruise ships go out of, right? So
Mhm.
I guess
Yeah.
wherever you're going to be, it's going to be an hour anyway, right? If you fly
Yeah,
into Orlando, it's going to be a transfer. Do you take care of all of those transfers?
we do. We do take care of transfers. So, if people come in at any time, we can arrange transfers for them back and forth to the pier. But you'd be surprised. We've had events over here in LA when people have come from New York and Chicago and the Midwest, from Florida. They fly. It's really not about the cruise so much, because they're really coming for your event. So if you're on land, Don't people fly from all over to come to an event in LA? Vice
Of
versa. You've
course.
been to events in Florida. I've been to a number of events in Florida and in New York, right? So it's the
Right.
same. People will go because they are coming for you and for your event.
Well, and they're also coming for the destination. So,
They-
if it was sweltering July, August in on the East Coast, the idea of being out al fresco dining
Fine,
on the ship sounds a lot it sounds very appealing, but it sounds even more appealing on the West Coast because
definitely.
we have a different atmospheric environment, which I think is highly attractive. And don't tell anybody, because they'll all come back to California. We got them to all go to Texas, so leave them, let them go,
Yeah,
let
yeah.
them go.
We try to avoid summer months in when you're going out of Miami or Florida, anywhere in Florida, because it's humid, it's hot. You know, the
Yeah,
weather's
it
not the best.
sounds pretty miserable.
Yeah,
I've heard of a lot of these. There's a marketing cruise, right? So,
right.
the marketing cruise is put together. Um, Give me some ideas on if somebody were to want to do a cruise. One,
Hmm.
what are some of the biggest benefits in doing this? I know you came up with five of them, but what do you think the top reason and the biggest benefit to somebody booking a cruise is?
From the perspective of the event, the leader, or for you, the biggest benefit is costs. You can definitely keep all your costs in control and down and make it profitable. So that's the biggest one that a lot of people worry about. We've known of events where people hosted um, on their own, but they're unable to even break even because they don't take into consideration so many of the costs. But on a cruise, you know upfront what the cost is going to be and what you're going to do. So that's the biggest one. The second one for the attendees is networking opportunities. Um, on all our events at sea, that as we call them, we they have the event, but we also have dinner together. Now, people don't always have to come. If they have family, they can go on their own and have their dinner. But we have events, we have dinner, so there's another networking opportunity. But in between the event and the dinner, business and networking is done a lot by the pool when you're
By
having
the
a drink,
pool, over a
by
drink,
the bar,
over a meal, somebody sees you in the
right?
shop, or goes ashore on any of the events. That is a place to get to know somebody.
Yes.
I've always said that business is made through connections, and connections are
Mhm.
through conversations.
Right.
It's really, really hard to have those conversations and those connections when you don't have time with somebody. And this is one of the best ways for you to be able to have this kind of attention and get this uninterrupted attention, because they're there not necessarily to do business, but when they are open minded, when they've got the other
Mhm.
pressures off of them, nobody's sitting on their phones or, running to go get online and go figure. They have really cut and structured that time away from their office, so they're able to give a lot more undivided. Now you have another reason and another tip, I think, associated with your 5 points.
The other one is, you don't have to worry about any of the entertainment. It's all built in. They have plenty of stuff to do on the ship, right? So you can even arrange all of you go together for an evening show together if you want to do kind of like a group
And let me
event.
just tell you, Shanta, you probably don't know this about me, but I was a piano player
That's
on
right.
cruise ships, and I played the piano bar. So believe me, people love to come around and sing along, and not necessarily karaoke, but people drink in their hand and a piano playing. That is just
Yeah.
magic. People
Well,
love to network in that environment.
right. You have dinner, and then, if you want to say, hey, let's go together and do something fun. So you have unlimited things to do there for all types of, your desires and needs that you want. So that's the fun part of, building those connections, like you said, not inside the conference room or not inside the event space, but really outside of it.
And
And
that
then,
makes total sense, because now people are having this, this icebreaker this out to sea and you've delivered some content. So when you're hosting an event on a cruise, how do you set this up so that you have the maximum impact and the best results? Because obviously they're on the ship. You're doing this so that you can sell a future package or current package,
Mhm,
or that
mhm.
your affiliates that are on. So lay it out for me a little bit, Shanta. How would you set up an itinerary at the front end or at the back end, or do you wait, or give me some idea on how that would work.
Yeah, the itinerary is kind of pretty set with the cruise, right? You have that. But you can also, we always have people, you ask people to come in the night before. Don't always, never come in the day of the cruise, because you never know what's going to happen with the flights. You could get delayed. So everybody comes in the night before. We arrange a hotel for everybody to stay close to the
That makes
port.
sense.
And we have a cocktail hour in the evening so that people can get to know and meet each other even before they get on board.
And you bring up a really good point, because the person that I was thinking about set up a summit. She had 12 or 13 people. Some people got delayed, so other people got cancellation on their flight. So that is a number one way to make sure that you have 100% attendance without everybody having the anxiety. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people try to think about, how do we save money so that it's the least cost, because we get to thinking other people are going to be so price sensitive, and I just want to make it a nice little package deal. So when somebody's thinking about this, Shanta, how would you recommend that they position in an, and how they can position their event or their summit?
It's really, build your event, your whatever you're doing, to make it such a great event that people won't worry about the price, right? So I know there's always a little bit of, say, I don't want to pay this dollars for a hotel. But when you can provide them, maybe the evening before, give them something a little more exciting than just a cocktail hour. Okay, let's do some fun things so that they don't want to miss that evening. So then you'll know for sure that they're going to come there, they're going to network with the others, get to know everybody, and then that continues. That before you even get after you get on board, before your event starts, have another gathering there where everybody can get together on the ship. So you just got to build in those little things, which will keep them networking and also getting to know each other and you better.
And that makes a whole lot of sense too, Shanta, because you're now removing the barriers and sales resistance. You're literally removing that. That's
Right.
pretty exciting. Now,
And
I
other thing I want to mention, Linda, is the environment is so different. You puts you in such a relaxed state. You're looking out to the water. You got this beautiful setting of a cruise ship. It just brings you down, calms you down, has puts you in a relaxing mode, and just want to have fun, which is so different from a boardroom in a hotel.
Oh my goodness, no kidding. Because now I'm thinking about, dressing up for the evening. I'm not thinking
Mhm.
about getting suitcases or going and moving around. Once I've gotten onto that ship, I'm already in that state, right?
Right, right. You unpack one, set for the whatever destinations you go for the next 5 days.
It's true. It's true. Talk to me for a moment about what you might have for them, Ashanta. I know that you had something for them to be able to get from you. What do you got? What do you got
Yeah,
for
I'll
us?
just go a little deeper into, I got a few more tips as to why an event at sea. So it's just five tips to do that. So I kind of lay it out and give you the thing, and then from there we can be glad to have a conversation with people as to what destination is right for them, what ship is right for them, because all ships don't provide the same experience. So
Sure,
depending
that makes
on what
sense.
your needs are, we can always set you up with the right ship and the right itinerary.
That makes total sense. So I think I have a ticker up here. It's travel by Shanta. Is that how they reach you?
That's correct. Yes, they can.
That's awesome.
And they will
So
get the 5 tips that I give for why an event and see.
that's awesome. That's really terrific. Shanta, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I think that the very notion that having a cruise become profitable because we can really control costs, so we can improve our networking. We've got a captive audience. We've got all sorts of reasons why somebody should be calling you and booking their event, because that takes the pressure off of me as an event planner, or me as the host of a summit, and all the other things. Now I can really focus on what is my presentation, and what is my next event going to be, and I can book that through you too. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. And there it is. There are the reasons why you want to book your next event on a cruise. So call or contact Shantha, travelbyshantha.com. And we'll see you next week. I got lots more things right up my sleeve, all about money. Thanks for joining me. Do you like to talk about money? If you do, and you'd like to be a guest, contact me at lindak360.com.